공봉덕. I am 82 years old. My great-grandparents-in-law and father-in-law's younger brother, they all lived in the same house until they passed away. I came from 여순사건 when I was 20 years old. So naive, not knowing anything. Maybe they thought I might run away. It wasn't until I had 5 children that they finally started telling me things. So I didn't know. They had been all shot and killed. Then the house had been burned down completely. I married into such a family and lived all that time without knowing. But later on, I came to know about it. Learning about it, I realized how much hardship we had endured back then. Even after having our children, we struggled terribly, having nothing, and just trying to get by. We couldn't send our kids to school properly. My husband's uncle was living in someone else's house as farmhand, where 5 farmhands shared a single room. Early one morning, the village head told them he had gathered some rice and asked them to move it somewhere. They didn't know anything about what was going on. They just carried the rice over. On the way, they were threatened and shot to death. They had no idea what was happening. My grandfather and grandmother didn't know anything about the situation. Later at dawn, they came and tied some villagers up with ropes and took them all away. When the sons, daughters, and grandchildren tried to follow, they were stopped and not allowed to go. They were taken to mountain, where their eyes were blindfolded, and they were all shot to death on a rock. They couldn't find the bodies at first. Then it rained for 3 days. The bodies became swollen, all lying face down. 3 days later, they went out to search. So no matter how many bodies they turned over, they couldn't recognize any of them. Everyone was so swollen and decomposed that they couldn't be identified. So they came back down empty-handed. Another 3 days later, some villagers went back to search again. They found the bodies and carried them down, but couldn't make it all the way back, so they buried them halfway down the mountain. The mountain owner came and told them to dig out the bodies and take them away. So they carried them again, crossing over the mountain, and buried them in our family mountain. That's what I heard. That's what I know. And I've been holding memorial services for them ever since. That's how I've lived my life. My husband's aunt told me everything about it. When I got married and came here, I didn't know anything about it. Everyone in the village knew, when I was the only one who didn't. I was told after I gave birth to my children. I've lived like that in poverty. Oh my, how heartbreaking such a life was. I managed to survive, raised my children, and sent them to school. I lived such a sorrowful, sorrowful life. There was no one to help me. But for my husband and for our children, I've survived and made it through hardships. I've taken care of all the ancestral rites of my grandparents-in-law. I relocated their graves to a better spot at the foot of the mountain. The villagers have paid me compliments for that. After all, aren't they just pitiful souls? Whenever I hear about how their bodies were found and brought back, it feels like my heart just stops. It's overwhelming. How could they have found and brought back the bodies? They were completely innocent, yet that's what happened to them. Having witnessed such a world, this is something that should never happen in this country. Innocent people who knew nothing were beaten and killed, and so many suffered greatly. I have been taking good care of their graves, and I continue to do so to this day.